as far as formal training. You have to put it into practice to actually be a good listener, though. So we're going to learn about it here. Then we're going to take it away. We're going to put it into practice. And we're going to focus on this framework. It is the SIER hierarchy of active listening. That is SIER. That is an acronym. It stands for sensing, interpreting, evaluating, and responding. Now, this is a structured approach to listening. Generally, what we do, instead of taking this process, instead of using this framework, we get directly to responding. We're just waiting for our turn to talk if we're even paying attention, right? Generally, we're doing less listening. We're doing more talking. If you are having a coaching conversation with your employee, I want to challenge you to listen 70% of the time and talk only 30% of the time. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And while we are listening, we can use this framework to be listening effectively. I'm going to say this again. So it's sensing, interpreting, evaluating, and responding. So first, sensing. Let's dive in. So before we even try to understand the message, we need to really hear what is being said. We want to sense what is being said with the message. And we are going to do this by, 1, staying present, staying in the moment, avoiding distractions, close all your windows. If it's a Zoom call, put your phone away. Stay in the moment with your team. That is challenging because we have the entire world trying to distract us all at once, usually with all the notifications on our phones, with all the pop-ups we get, with all the emails that come in, the Slack messages. Like, distractions are everywhere. So staying present, it will set you apart as a leader. It will set you apart, staying in the moment. It will also allow you to pick up on nuances in the message. So you'll be able to better hear the tone, how the tone's changing when people are talking about certain things. Is this something they're excited about? Is this something that they're fearful? Is there a concern there? Are they just venting in the moment? By being present in that conversation, we'll be able to pick up on these things a lot easier. We'll be able to notice changes in the tone and the facial expressions and even the body posture. Even on a Zoom call, we can pay attention to these things, and it will help us be a more effective listener, which will in turn help us be a more effective leader. It will help us understand where our team is coming from. Are they anxious? Are they excited? These are critical in understanding what is actually being said, because there's so much more than what the words that are chosen. And it's also why it's great to have those phone conversations, the Zoom conversations, being in person when we need to have an impactful conversation, because via text or via email, it's going to be a lot harder for people to pick up on the tone that we're trying to convey. So if it's a really serious conversation, we want to make sure people understand, like, this matters. I need you to hear this. I need you to pay attention to this. And if it is an email or a text, or we're receiving an email or text or something like that from somebody else, it's going to be a lot harder for us to really sense the meaning behind the message and the emotions that are coming with it, which are an important piece. The second piece is the interpreting. So once we get a better idea of the message, it's important that we interpret or understand the meaning behind it. And often this is going to be done by asking clarifying questions. Can you elaborate on that? What did you mean when you said this? Am I understanding you correctly? We don't want to assume that we understand where people are coming from. It just takes a moment to verify. And by taking that moment to verify, we can ensure that everybody's on the same page as we go to the next step, which is evaluating. So after interpreting, now's the time that we actually think through the message's importance. This is where we can do some reflection. This is emotional intelligence plays a critical role in this, in allowing us to make a respond as opposed to reacting to the message. So this is a chance where we actually take time to process. I'm going to challenge you to avoid immediate reactions. Do not jump to conclusions. Do not immediately take somebody's side. Don't immediately say something that you might end up regretting, like getting defensive in the moment. Take a deep breath, create some space, allow yourself to really evaluate what's being said before you respond, and think through data points, especially if you're somebody that you know is going to really be moved by your emotions. Think about data points, make a logical decision. Emotions are important, as of course, but we don't want to discredit the logic behind it and the data. And this might come with us asking for specific examples of a situation that's being discussed. Because if somebody can give us specific examples of what's happening, we have a more clear picture of the actual impact of the moment. And then, or the impact of the event that's being discussed. And then the fourth, responding. This is the final step, responding to the message. And again, usually we just jump to step 4. We hear something, we immediately respond, and we're trying to get on to the next thing because we're busy. There's a lot of things on our plate. We might feel like this isn't critical, mission critical in that moment, but I want to challenge you to take these steps. You might take an extra 5-10 minutes, but you might save a great employee. You might prevent yourself from making a bad decision in the moment because you didn't take the steps to actually sense, interpret, and evaluate the message before responding. One way you can do this is with I statements. So instead of saying, you shouldn't feel this way, be more empathetic. Use I statements. I understand why you might feel that way based on what you shared. And then we might move forward with another perspective. But also it's okay to offer constructive feedback. If somebody provides an idea and you know it's not going to work, if we've taken the steps before responding, it'll be a lot easier for us to navigate that conversation and show that we appreciate somebody thinking outside the box, but then also recognize, like, here are some challenges I would anticipate happening with this idea. Have you thought through these? And give them time to clarify. So by taking the time to go through this process and follow this framework, as opposed to just jumping straight to responding, we'll be able to have a more impactful conversation in the moment. And that's going to be a big deal for keeping your best people engaged. That's going to be a big deal for creating a culture where people want to innovate, where people want to bring new ideas to the table and don't feel like they're coming to a boss who just says no to everything without actually taking the time to hear their ideas and show them how valued they actually are. So small changes, it's always small changes that go a long ways. And the framework, the SIER framework, sensing, interpreting, evaluating, responding. If we can follow these 4 steps, we're going to be way better. I can't even talk right now. If we can follow these 4 steps, we'll be much more effective listeners. And if you're a great listener, it's a lot easier to be a great leader.